how do you hope your co-workers and team members describe you as a leader?
Oh, wow. Oh, man. So it's really important for me to be a strong, valuable player in this company, but not to be the bronze statue up front of the building, if you will. I would hope that my team would say, Bill's the type of leader that says, hey, stand on my shoulders because he cares more about my success than his own. Bill's the type of leader that will get down and dirty on the work, even if it meant going and mopping the damn floor because we needed someone to mop the floor so that the other people could be working on what their strengths are in the work that they're delivering on. I would hope they would say that I'm a leader that really listens and takes their perspectives in. We're very democratic in that way, and that can be challenging as a company grows. I still think we navigate that well, and maybe ultimately just a leader that cares. At the end of the day, I really care. This isn't a business to build a business for me. This has become my life, essentially. Yeah. Outside of my family, this is it. This is my damn outside of family baby. Yeah. I care about this business. I care about the people that work here. So yeah, I would hope that they would say some of those things. That would make me feel good.
Welcome to EmpathyLed, Bill.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me. How are you? I'm very good. I'm very good today.
Good. So I'm gonna give you the opportunity to introduce yourself, but for first-time listeners, I want to give them a little bit of context about what the show is about and who it is for. So EmpathyLed is a show that's brought to you by the Griot Agency, and it's a show about empathetic leaders, organizations, and brand. And our purpose is very simple. Our purpose is to learn from empathetic leaders wherever we can find them, so that we can bring back those lessons in our business and pass on those lessons to the clients that we work with. Because we understand in the work that we do that empathy plays a critical role in the success of any business, any brand, and certainly in the success of any leader. So, Bill, I'm super delighted to be here. Thank you for making the time to be here.
Of course.
So we actually wanted to start, instead of taking us all the way back to your childhood and all of that, the first line of your bio says, humankind, be both. Yes. I wanted to understand, in the context of your worldview, what that means.
Yeah, well, that's interesting you called that out. I actually forgot that that's there. It's also in my email signature, and I put it there a while ago. And it's not that I don't mean those things, but I don't think about it as much anymore. That it's there, meaning. So why is that there? I think that is a very clear and true reflection of who I want to be as a human being and what I care about most. I can contextualize that more by saying, for the people that are familiar with maybe Enneagram, which is a personality profile framework, I am an Enneagram 2. A 2 is very much the people pleaser and the people person. So the faults of a 2 would be that I actually care about how other people feel more than I care about what I'm going through and how I feel. And although that can be a fault and can be really hard and a challenge, that does put me in a position to be extremely, probably over empathetic to other people and just wanting people to treat each other appropriately, kindly, and just being good humans. So that's why it's in my email signature. That's why it's in the opening line of my bio.
Yeah, no, I love that. Have you been able to reflect where you get those values from?
Oh, great question. I think the easy answers, people would go to family and upbringing, and that is true. As I've become more and more aware of personality styles and how people are different, regardless of how they are raised and where they come from, it is clearer to me now that it's just part of my DNA. I was definitely raised in a family that treated other people with respect and was raised to do the right thing. But it is also just in me. I can't help it. It's just who I am at my core.
Yeah. So speaking of your childhood and upbringing, I know you were born and raised in Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah.
And I think for most of us, there is a very clear image that pops up in our head about Martha's Vineyards. But I have to imagine that for a local, that image is certainly different. So what do most people don't understand about the place where you were born and raised?
Yeah, so you're 100% correct. Everybody hears the word Martha's Vineyard and they think, oh, big houses, rich people, lots of money, life is awesome. Yes, those things are true, but those are generally the people that are not local. So the people that are growing up there and live there full time are very much blue collar, hard worker, fisherman, plumber, work for the town, electrician, tradespeople, small business owners, a lot of small business owners. And I do tie that to maybe how I've ended up as also a business owner. It's very natural to own a business there because that is, to no surprise, it's a vacation destination, which means you need a lot of small mom and pop stores to support all that. It's a small community, right? There's no franchise anything out there. There's no McDonald's. There's no Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, wow.
There's no mall. There was a Subway for maybe 5 summers when I was growing up, and that was pretty cool. There is a Dairy Queen, but besides that, it is very locally run, if you will. So that probably, I mean, maybe to get to the root of your question, that does also relate to maybe the blue collar, work hard, treat people right ethic that is in me. It is not the silver spooner, oh, you must have come from a big house and lots of wealth. That none of that is true. I had to pay to put myself through college. That is not a knock to my parents. It's a different upbringing than I think people would have suspect hearing that word. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, I am certainly surprised because I assumed you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth.
Incorrect. And I'm actually happy. Well, I mean, I guess I don't know the difference, but now living my life, I think that has been really fruitful for me.
Yeah. In
right?
what way?
It gives me my drive.
Okay.
It gives me that work ethic to say, I don't want to fail. I want to succeed. And I have to work hard to succeed. That's normal. And that's what I want to do. It helps me not take things for granted. Right. So I don't want to pass judgment on people that come from wealthy situations. That they're probably still great human beings and maybe have a lot of drive, but that has built a lot of who I am, which is I've had to work hard, and I don't regret that, and I don't look back at that as a negative.
Yeah. All right. So we already know that a key ingredient to you being able to build Fast Forward Focus Lab was hard work. What are some of the other ingredients that were critical to where you are today and your ability to build this business that, by all measurement and from the outside looking in, is a thriving, growing, very successful venture?
Yeah, when I speak with other business owners, I get that question often, or they don't ask it, and I'm like, let me tell you because you should know. One of the first words that always pops to my mind is patience. The ability to be patient, because this thing takes a long time to build, right? Any business. Even when you feel like you're successful at year 3, because you're doing a lot more than you were doing at year 1, it takes a lot of patience to get to year 7 and to now for us, year 13. Wow. There's a lot of highs. There's certainly lows. So being patient and having the grit and the drive to be able to get through that is key. I would also call out for me specifically, I have been very blessed, is the right word, to have a fantastic business partner. So I also didn't have to traverse this alone. And now there's 3 business partners, 3 of us. But for about the first 8 years or so, it was just me and Eric. So that was huge for me, because what that provided for our business, we had basically a yin and a yang there. If I was the extrovert, Eric was the introvert. If I was the big creative kind of exploratory mind on the design side, he was the more technical, focused, detail-oriented developer on the developer side. So from a business building perspective, we've really had really fantastic strengths to offset each other. And I don't know what it would have been like to not have that. I don't want to sit here and say like I couldn't have done this or Eric couldn't have done this. Like I think we would have been somewhat successful in our own journeys if we were siloed. But coming together, him and I, and now Will as the third partner, it's so much more powerful. You get an exponential effect from that. So I can't not mention that as a big part of our success.
Yeah. No. I mean, as someone who's building a company on its own, essentially, I mean, I have teammates that are helping in that process as well. But to your point, I think there are many, many, many days where I wish I had a business partner other than my wife, who is the most supportive, loving, and caring human being on my side along this journey. But yeah, so I love this phrase from Jack Dorsey that says that businesses and companies have multiple origin stories. So what are some of the key milestones that were really important in the growth and evolution of Focus Lab?
Yeah, that's fantastic. I don't know that I've heard that, but I know exactly where they are in our business and in my life cycle through the business. So first origin is me ending up in Savannah because I didn't know what I wanted to do yet, but I knew that I could at least go back and get my my graduate degree and or my master's degree, I should say. And that landed me in Savannah because there's a big art school there. So that at least brings me to a geolocation, which is where I meet Eric. In that time in Savannah, I worked at a vacation rental company. This is pre-Airbnb. And I'm answering phones, helping people book houses. And that woman that owned that business, that chose to hire me to answer telephones, saw the strengths within me, and I'll be forever grateful to her for this, and started basically letting me design all the things that business needed. Business cards, brochures, now their website. Now I'm taking photographs of all the rental units and I'm putting it on the website. And she put me in a position that I was able to take her business so visually forward that all the other small businesses in that area also wanted me to help them. And now that spawns, wow, I have a decent amount of freelance work, if you will. I didn't call it that back then. That I couldn't do it all. And not only that, it was becoming very web dependent. And I'm not a developer in any sense of the word, which spawns the moment where I meet Eric. Hey, we should do a thing together. We both would bring a lot to the table. Let's build a thing. So that's a very particular moment in time. That's an origin story. I can fast forward maybe 3 years and I can talk about Dribbble. For the people that are familiar with Dribbble, which is a web platform wherever designers primarily, now it's motion and everybody, but share their work, what they're working on. And I put a lot of energy into that in year 2 and year 3 of our business, sharing our work, if you will. And that got us out of a Savannah local market and got us into really a global market. It really did. Like we had overseas clients early because of the work that I did on Dribbble. There were other things that Eric was doing in the development community that were as powerful, but that's another kind of origin story that happened because that took us from maybe Eric and I as a 3-4 person team with our first team members, to a 12-person team within like 2 years. Right. So that dynamically shifted our business. And then the third one that I'll mention here that really comes to mind is year 8, I believe it is. We are now 18, 20 people, bigger clients, et cetera, but struggling with business structure and maybe how a creative company should operate outside of being creative and delivering good work. And that's when Eric reads a book called Traction and learns about EOS, the acronym, which stands for the Entrepreneurial Operating System. We adopt that, we implement it into our business. And that's another dynamic level up for our business. Now we're at 33 people. And our next origin story, I guess, is waiting to be told. We're probably right on the precipice of it with the launch of Odi, which I don't know if that we'll get into here, but starting to build out now additional agencies into a larger ecosystem.
Wow, that's amazing. There is so much in this for a budding entrepreneur, or somebody who's aspiring to be an entrepreneur, or somebody like me who's in the early stage of building a venture. So many little gems that you just dropped into this retelling of the origin stories of the company. Yeah, lots of value. So I know now you all are focused on working with B2B companies. And maybe correct me if I'm wrong. There is this idea, this generalization that B2B companies are soulless, right? So first of all, I'm going to stop there. Would you agree with that characterization and generalization of B2B businesses in the industry?
Yes, but I would probably twist it a little bit differently. And maybe this is the empathy and trying to be understanding of both sides coming out. I think they can be perceived as soulless. I think that some of those businesses think they should be perceived as soulless and they should just be business. Inside that organization, there is soul there. I think there's the misperception of, can we broadcast that? Or is that what we're not supposed to do in the B2B space? And I think what the market is quickly learning, and we know, and we're trying to push faster, is that does not have to be true. B2B can be as soulful as B2C. A B2B SaaS company can be as cool as Nike if it chooses to be. If it wants to step out on that ledge and really go for it, it can happen.
So how do you then, and all very important questions and that those business leaders are asking themselves, like, is this the direction we should be taking? Is this what clients are expecting from us? Is this the right path for the company? How do you help your clients navigate those very important questions that have the potential to shape the direction and their business?
Yeah, so it can be very nuanced and different per client. Some clients you have to get past just the natural fear of, no, we can't do that. The market's not ready for that. And you could either prove that through data to say, hey, there are really big studies that prove that B2B buying from a customer side is actually more emotional than B2C buying. And these are the reasons. Sometimes people are analytically driven. Sometimes they just need psychological coaching. You're going to be fine. Look at this company. You look up to them, right? They've gone that way. It's proved very fruitful for them. So there's a lot of like brand therapy that really has to happen in those moments. I can tell you though, by the time that people arrive at our doorstep, they're already further down that line, right? It's not as if we are straight up cold calling people, trying hard to convince them. And then it's really, we're taking them from 0 to 100. We're probably taking people from 75 to 95, right? So the gap is smaller of where we're trying to take them mentally. It's still a journey though. Definitely a journey.
No doubt. And I think this smaller gap you speak of is a testament of the work that you all do in content creation, in sharing your work, in sharing the methodology and the thinking. When I look at your content and I look at the work that the company does, and I listen and watch some of the podcast episodes, for me, the language and the approach and the philosophy that you all, and you particularly, bring forth is really reminiscent of the B2C space, right? So is that an intentional thing that you all do? If so, how do you guys think about those two different types of businesses and industries?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. We don't prescribe to the idea that B2B brand needs to be dynamically different than B2C brands. Although we position ourselves as a B2B agency, that's very much a positioning play, right? We want to say we are here directly in your lane. We understand you. But above that, the overarching theme is I'm still going to talk about brand the same way, regardless of who I'm talking to. What I posted today on LinkedIn relates to any market. It doesn't matter. When I say a strong brand has the opportunity to actually fail its customer and retain that customer because of loyalty and trust, that's the same for B2C or B2B. It doesn't matter, right? So we just get up on our soapbox, and in the most humble, educating way, we just try to tell our brand truth of like, we believe these things, our clients believe in these things and have been successful as a result. Let us try to educate and help you as well. And that's basically the spawning of all of our content. How can we help? A lot of that also comes, we learn a lot in the rebrand journey with our partners, what they're most scared of, what they really need to become true at the end. So with all of those learnings that we have firsthand, we can now reshare that out, because we know that now 95% of the other people are all going to be worried about those same exact things, or struggle with the same exact things in project, those types of things.
So for a listener who is not familiar with you, your work, your company, can you make a quick business case for a B2B to be more empathetic and to really unearth and communicate its soul?
I appreciate you putting me on the spot. Thankfully, that's an easy pitch you've thrown me. So the first idea is essentially the B2B space is so wide open. Why wouldn't you do that? Right? Me trying to convince somebody in the B2C space, be more authentic, be more genuine, make sure your mission is clear, create something that people are passionate about. That's what everybody does in the B2C space. So it's harder then. The opportunity is like, where are we going to wedge into some little area where that story has not been presented? B2B is like, it's fresh new territory. It's people pulling wagons from the east out to the west going like, oh my God, we can just we can have a whole state instead of trying to take a little piece of land over here. So for that reason alone, it's like, go after it now while the opportunity is ripe. But more importantly to the customer base, why would it matter? Because like I said, but not directly, and I'll say it directly now, the people that are buying, your customers, are still people. They still care. They still want to feel something from a business they're buying from. It's not purely transactional. There's very few things in life you do today from a buying perspective that is just straight up transactional. Even buying eggs and stuff now, right? You're like looking at where the chicken's raised this way, or what does that packaging kind of look like? That's going to influence your buy, even though it's eggs, right? So I just switched my internet service, which you could argue is that B2B or B2C, doesn't really matter. But I went from Optimum to Verizon, really for just about the same price and the same package, et cetera. I can get the same service. I can't deal with Optimum anymore from a customer experience and what I would boil down to a values and brand perspective. I can't deal with them anymore. I'm going to go with Verizon. I'm going to get a better experience there. I care. It makes me feel like Verizon cares. Again, that's a brand thing. So B2B businesses should not get caught in the trap of, we're just an offering, we're a transaction. People don't care about that. Well, yeah, they might not come to you gloating and looking for, heart eyes every day, but I can tell you they do care. I promise you they care. So don't take that lightly. And as I said, you see B2B, the market in general, it will go that way. And it is going that way. And when the big dogs really start to say that is the way, everybody will follow.
Yeah.
Right. But it's going to take a couple of those bigger companies to really stand out as wow, they don't feel like a B2B technology company. Right. They feel different. Everyone's going to go, oh shit, that's the way. Race, go.
Do some examples come to mind? And feel free to talk about, past clients of yours, or just a B2B brand that stand alone in your mind as a perfect illustration of what you are talking about.
Yeah, so this is where you have to really start to be critical on, is Apple a B2B brand or is it B2C? I think it could be easily argued that it's business to business. Consumer, individual purchaser is probably the majority of their business. but they're not just selling to you and I. They're not just selling phones, right? It's big business. But people will still conflate that, right? They're still going to be like, well, but what is Salesforce? You know, that would be more of a B2B player. But Salesforce, if they were starting now, and I think they've done an okay job, if they were starting now, you better believe they would probably start out feeling more B2C than B2B. We still have this lag, you know, from the 80s, the IBMs of the world and all of that, right? That still felt like that was the way. And it's like the industry can't even like shake it completely. But you've got the new dogs, right? You've got, think about a MailChimp, right? MailChimp with the Freddy logo. And for the people that are not familiar, Freddy's their mascot. And if you're not familiar with their brand, you absolutely should check it out. That does not feel like a technology tool. It's 100% what it is. Oh, and by the way, they got acquired by Intuit for like $12 billion or something. Mm-hmm. Why do you think Intuit's buying that brand? Is there not another email marketing service provider tool that they could buy? Probably for a lot less. I would argue that Intuit's buying MailChimp because it needs some of that vibe in its offering, right? It's got TurboTax, businessy as hell, right? It's got all these things. It needs a MailChimp to lighten the mood as an ecosystem of brands as it's trying to build. So yeah, I mean, people are paving that way. But again, you got to get back to the like, is it for everybody? I'm not saying it's for everybody, but it has to at least be considered that you can be very genuine, very authentic, even playful, I might add, like MailChimp.
Of course.
And be very successful.
Yeah. I mean, I think ultimately, you know, organizations don't make decisions. Organizations don't buy. People buy. People within those organizations buy. People within organizations make decisions. So I think the idea that you are selling to a coldless, heartless, like robot is ludicrous, right? Like you are speaking to somebody who has hopes, dreams, fears, insecurities, professional goals and aspirations, professional worries, and is trying to figure out how your business, your product, or your service fits within the context of their human experience and their professional experience. And I think to your point, the ones that understand it and the ones that can position themselves within the context of the human experience of the people they are speaking to and selling to, will always win.
100%. Well said. People desire authenticity and a genuine relationship built on just trust and being trustworthy. Right. And you don't have to be B2C or B2B to be able to do that appropriately. Do that no matter where you are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the best salespeople are great at what they do because they almost never sell. They ask you about your kids and your family, your vacation. They ask you about the challenges at work, congratulate you on your new promotion, and then figure out how what they are trying to sell you fits in the context of the challenges that you have at work or at home, fits in the context of the progress that you are trying to make professionally or personally, and then give you the opportunity to decide whether or not you want to proceed. And there is the best at what they do. I might even venture out to say in any field, have this heightened level of empathy and people fluency that is required for as long as we're going to be dealing with other human beings.
Which is hopefully a very long time.
But at least now we know it might not be forever. So let's shift gear a little bit. I know how personally I feel about the brand that I'm building, the level of care and love that I have for this thing that I'm building, this entity, which means that if I came to you to help me communicate it or rebrand, it comes with a tremendous amount of responsibility. How do you, as a company, accept, deal with, and handle that responsibility?
Yeah, it's not easy. I'll start with that. I think it is easier for us year over year as we basically understand and believe everything I've just said. We know it to be true. We know it will work. So we have faith that the outcome in success rate is extremely high. So the challenge then becomes going through that journey with the client, which then, coming back to the point of the show, really falls back to empathy. So when we're going through this journey, and we do call it a journey with our clients, we consider ourselves both the crafts person, the person doing the work, but also kind of this like mentor shepherd that's also, we're playing like dual roles with the client in the middle, if you will, right? We're on both sides of that table saying like, okay, we're delivering the work. We're giving you our perspective. We're also going to guide you as a consultant from the other side when we see you're nervous or you're struggling with things. We're going to try to set you up for success mentally. Go along with this journey. We will go through it together. That's very important, right? We will go through this together. We're here for you. This is going to work. This is going to work. So to do that effectively, to come back to your question, you have to be able to empathize with the client. It can't be transactional. Come back to that word. You've paid me to do a thing. I need you to stop talking and sit over there. I'm going to deliver you the thing and I'm going to go away. And that's what we came to do here. It's like, no, that's not what we came to do here. We came to like build a rocket to try to go to the moon. And it's going to take both parties with a lot of energy. And we're going to get there together, even if there are twists and turns and we have to be agile on certain things. If we have to slow down and actually wait for people to catch up mentally to where we're at. I don't know. I'm very nervous about this. I didn't really want to change the color palette coming in. I think we have a lot of brand equity there. Okay, let's talk about that. We don't agree, but we may not be right. Let's talk about it, right? Lots of conversations. And that's why, and this is not my point of the whole spiel, that's why a brand project can't be 4 weeks. You can't do all that in 4 weeks. It's literally impossible. You can't even really get somebody past the hurdle of, do I think I like the logo yet? In 3 to 4 weeks. Never mind all the communications layers, communications, not us speaking with client, communications deliverables, the verbal identity. How's the brand going to speak? What is its voice and tone? Is it more like a MailChimp or is it more like a Salesforce? So yeah, it's a decent amount of work, but it's a lot of mentoring, shepherding, supporting along the way. And I guess I would finish by saying, we know that is so important that's literally our number one focus. At this point, if a company is going to hire us, we're probably one of 3 to 5, if not 2 or 1, in their selection process. And at that point, they know they're going to like a high-end steakhouse. They are expecting really good steak. So that would be the product. So we don't have to say the quality of our work is high. They're like, yeah, like no crap. That's why you're in the small pool. It's the only reason you're here.
Yeah.
What else are you going to deliver on? What makes you stand out from the pack now that you're in? It's going to be the customer experience. It's going to be the care for the customer, the onboarding of that person into this hard journey, the empathy that we deliver during the project. So we have an acronym. Now I'm really going long.
Please.
Bear with me. We have an acronym inside of Focus Lab and Odi. Now we have 2 agencies. Within the both of them, we have an acronym called SAUCE, SAUCE. And that stands for Seek to Achieve an Unforgettable Customer Experience. That's our number one mantra. We are always seeking to achieve an unforgettable customer experience. So much so that at the end of the project, we asked them, did we live up to that mantra? We told you about this coming in. We told you it was a differentiator for us, that you would feel supported unlike any other agency you've ever worked with. Almost crossing the line of personal professional, right? Like if somebody's sick and they're out for a week on the client side, we're sending them flowers, checking in on them. Are you okay? Like we are going so far on the sauce side that it does create an unforgettable customer experience. And then at the end, we send them custom sauce, actual hot sauce that we source in Savannah locally. And we have our own custom labels. And it's a gift box. And it says, thank you for hiring us. We know that was a big endeavor. Thank you for trusting us. Here's some sauce at the end of the project. We loved working with you. So I think that rounds it out. I actually don't remember the original question, but I think I've hit it from multiple angles.
Yes. and if you are listening to this, then you cannot see the big smile that I have on my face right now, because this is exactly the kind of conversations we have at our agency, and why we are so big on this idea of empathy. There is this idea that in most industries, the room for innovation on the product itself is really slim. Where the opportunity lies is on the transactional benefits that people are seeking, which is the experience of how they acquire the product or the service that they're getting from you, and your ability to communicate and to deliver on the aspirational benefits that are inevitably attached to these kinds of endeavors or to any purchase, right? So if to make my point a little bit more concrete, if I am buying a car, then the functional benefits of the car is for me to be able to go from point A to point B as safely as possible. And the room to innovate on that is quite small. But there is so much opportunity to innovate on the aspirational benefits that people are looking for in a car. Maybe I'm somebody who cares about doing my part to save the planet. I might go electric. Maybe I'm a car aficionado and I've always loved German engineering, and I might go, right, and on and on and on. Or I hate the car dealership experience so much that if a company came along and designed this unbelievable car dealership experience, I would choose them regardless of the functional benefit of the car, because to your point, like, I know the car is going to run. Hey, there's no car maker that doesn't have a car that doesn't run. Right? And that's what you said earlier. Like, nobody is picking you guys and get to the last point with the fear and the apprehension that maybe you don't know how to design, maybe you don't know how to, right? Like, those things are given. Of course, within that, there are people that do it better than others. But I think, to your point, the real opportunity are in that experience and those aspirational benefits. So I really, really, really love that whole customer experience. And I might have to say in public, and now that we are live, that I'm probably going to steal a few of those nuggets and make my own sauce, if you don't mind.
It's been said a couple times now. We know we're not going to be able to trademark that sucker, but it helps us. And I would just add that it makes it really clear to the team when there's a single acronym, and we use it so often, and we have patches for it. We have custom patches. We have weekly, we have a roundtable where the whole entire team gets together, and we go around at the back half of the meeting, which is 1 hour, and we do a bunch of high fives across the team. Team member to team member will raise their hand. Hey, I want to high five, blah, 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 for doing this thing. And sauce is part of that. People will say, did you see the sauce that Natalie added on the project last week? Did you see the sauce that Brian? Did you see the sauce that Charisse? Right. So it's now embedded in the language, which is exactly what we want. It's what we all want, because you're 100% right when you say the innovation opportunity on how much better designer, writer, strategists can we actually be? I don't know. I mean, we're good. Are we ever going to be the best? I think that's fool's gold. I don't even know what the best is. How do you measure that?
Exactly.
Can we be the best from a customer experience perspective? I think we can. I think that's actually attainable. Let's build that on top of the layer of just being really good at our craft.
Yeah.
To that end, we believe that if that is true, then revenue is in line, recognition on the street is in line. All of these things become true if we can nail that thing.
And the other thing that I really loved about this whole thing around your sauce is this idea that we share with clients all the time. It's one thing to have core values, and it's another to find ways to operationalize those core values. Like, yes, for me, the sauce, for me, the low high five, the low traditions, the language, all of those things really enable you to operationalize those core values and really drive home these values that are so important for the company. Otherwise, they just remain nice
Correct.
sayings on a wall
Correct.
or a brand book somewhere, right?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a fantastic word to use for it. We operationalize the hell out of that word. We use Lattice. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this tool, Lattice. It's how you measure team member sentiment week to week. So every week, every person on the team fills out a report. What was your high for the week? What was your low for the week? Do you wish that you had done anything different this week? Do you feel like you accomplished a lot? And then one of the questions I have that goes to my reports, which can be the directors of each department, design, strategy, project management, brand support. I ask them, so there's only like 7 questions in that whole weekly report. The one question I asked, did you see any sauce moments this week?
I love that.
Call them out. Let's be looking for them. Let's call them out. And if they're big enough, we're going to bring them to roundtable. I want you to mention those. Those are worthwhile and worth mentioning. And we see that. We see the benefit of that, right? If clients leave. We just had a client today. It was literally today. They responded at the end of the project. We've never worked with an agency that cared about the customer experience and us as people the way that y'all did. It's just now not even in the same ballpark kind of thing, right? Because it's still left as transactional. And it's just not natural for us to be that way. And now we've built all this stuff to operationalize that. There could be a sauce book coming. I don't want to tease that too hard yet. But as that becomes more ingrained in our business and our kind of like culture, it might be that we say, hey, this is how we do this thing. Everybody should do it.
Yeah. I mean, there is so much. And I really, really hope people will listen to this entire episode. There is so much, even in this past 5 minutes, about how to actually build a culture, which is something that many, many businesses aspire to. But in many instances, the culture just turns out to be an accident. It turns out to be just the natural outcome of the unintentional choices and decisions that they make on a daily basis. But it's so obvious how intentional and purposeful you guys are in building the culture. So how do you hope your coworkers and team members describe you as a leader?
Oh, wow. Oh, man. So it's really important for me to be a strong, valuable player in this company, but not to be the bronze statue up front of the building, if you will. I would hope that my team would say, Bill's the type of leader that says, hey, stand on my shoulders because he cares more about my success than his own. Bill's the type of leader that will get down and dirty on the work, even if it meant going and mopping the damn floor because we needed someone to mop the floor so that the other people could be working on what their strengths are in the work that they're delivering on. I would hope they would say that I'm a leader that really listens and takes their perspectives in. We're very democratic in that way, and that can be challenging as a company grows. I still think we navigate that well. And maybe ultimately just a leader that cares. At the end of the day, I really care. This isn't a business to build a business for me. This has become my life, essentially. Yeah. Outside of my family, this is it. This is my damn outside of family baby. Yeah. I care about this business. I care about the people that work here. So yeah, I would hope that they would say some of those things. That would make me feel good.
Yeah. Now, I mean, we are coming up to the end of the show, unfortunately, and I couldn't have scripted a better way to end this episode. I already knew that you were an empathetic leader, an empathetic brand builder and brand architect, and this episode just confirmed all of those initial assumptions that I had tenfold. And I wanted to take the opportunity, now that I have you on the podcast, to thank you for your generosity and thank you for the level of transparency that you bring in every interaction. I see the last line on your LinkedIn bio is, I'm an open book. Reach out, let's chat. And I want everyone to know that you absolutely live up to those words. And I could not be more grateful for your help, your support. And I know you don't think of it like that, but I would say your mentorship as well. So thank you very much for everything. And thank you for everything you do for this industry as we all try to contribute and move it forward.
Wow. I'll just say thank you to that. That means a lot.
All right, Bill. Thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your day. And this is certainly not the last time you hear from me.
All right. Thank you.